continue the meeting. We already called to order, and I want to welcome everybody here that is joining us in the boardroom, as well as those that are joining us via the online. I would like to let everybody know that this is our first meeting with Board Docs, which is a cloud-based website that's going to host all of our meeting minutes, agendas. It will be accessible for the public and then also accessible by the board. I won't let anybody know that would like to join us on that this evening. Those that are joining us publicly can go directly to the Port Washington-Saukville School District website. And on the main website, on the top, there is a menu. On the far left is district. You can hover over district, and there will be a menu drop-down. You can go to the Board of Education drop-down link. That will come up. Your Board of Education page will appear. If you scroll down midway, there will be in bold, in blue and in bold, a Board Docs link, and that is the public link. And if you click on that link, that will bring you directly to our Board Docs, and the first page that opens up is meetings. It'll be the featured meeting, and so that would be the featured meeting of the night and the most upcoming meeting, and you can click on that meeting, and that will bring you to the agenda of the evening. That'll bring you to a page, and in the lower part of that page, it will post the view of the agenda, and you can click there. I know that was a quick review of how to do that, and we may review it next time we have a meeting, just to remind people or newcomers, maybe do that for a couple times in the upcoming meeting so we can get everybody up to speed. So welcome, and we believe that this will be an excellent tool for everybody. I would like everybody to join us and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance for the beginning of our meeting. Oh, flag's over here. Let's move. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, thank you everybody for joining us. And I'm going to ask for a little bit of patience as we sort of use this new form as I kind of click through things and find things that are newly located on this site. But the first thing that we are going to look at tonight is a report on the middle school students' kindness retreat. And we have welcomed some middle schoolers here this evening, so we'd like to invite them up with their advisor to come and give us a little recap on that day. So welcome up, introduce yourselves, and we will hand it over to you. And you can press that button on that microphone so it'll pick it up for the public.
Gren. All right, good evening. I think, guys, these are the real superstars, so I'm going to have them come in front of me here. My name is Kristen Johnson. I'm one of the school counselors at TJ Middle School. And today with me, I have some of our 8th grade leaders from our recent 5th grade kindness retreat that we held at TJ that was facilitated by Youth Frontiers out of Minneapolis, and 2 of our 5th grade students that were on the receiving end of our kindness retreat. So I'll just give a brief summary of the program. I know we shared some resources already, but it was a 5-hour-long retreat that was facilitated by 2 dynamic individuals. Was very hands-on and exciting, in addition to sending a really positive message, reminding our students about the value of kindness and the importance of demonstrating that type of behavior everywhere we are, particularly in school. So we've asked the kids to just kind of share a little bit of feedback from their perspective about what they learned as 5th graders on the receiving ends. And our 8th graders will share a little bit about why they chose to sign up to be volunteers for this position. We had over 50 applicants from our 8th grade class, and 37 of them were selected to be small group leaders. It involved an application process, teacher recommendations, grade and attendance checks. So really, truly looking for students that demonstrated leadership in every facet of the word. So we'll hear from them as well. All right, so first, if you guys can introduce yourselves, tell your grade level, and then we'll get going.
I am Wesley Skelton, and I'm in 5th grade.
I'm Taylor Wright, and I'm in 5th grade.
I'll start with Alex.
I'm I'm Alex Price, and I am an 8th grader.
I'm Madeline Zolwinski, and I'm in 8th grade too.
I'm Natalie Olson. I'm in 8th grade.
I'm Elena Elgin, and I'm in 8th grade.
I'm Kyla Shaw, and I'm in 8th grade.
All right, so maybe if Wesley and Taylor could kind of start telling a few of the lessons that you learned from the kindness retreat and what it felt like to be a recipient on the end of the retreat.
Well, it was really fun overall, and like instead of just like sitting down the whole like hour or how long it was, we did a bunch of like fun activities that all had to do with kindness, and like it was just really fun. They made it really fun.
Thanks, Taylor. Wesley, how about
And
you?
one of the main messages of that is just to be kind to everybody, no matter how old they are, young they are, no matter what they look like, just be kind to everybody.
Very good. And guys, why do you think it's important for us to have retreats and trainings and education like this in middle school?
Because like if you don't really do anything or say anything about it, like it's just like if you're like bullying or stuff like that, it's just gonna kind of just go on and go on.
Yeah, so this is going to kind of add on to what Taylor said. So let's say you're a younger brother or sister, and your big brother or sister makes fun of you because of you're so good at math, and they just think like you're a nerd or something. And if you have like self-kindness, maybe you can just like ignore them and be like, I'm just really good at math, and you just can't make fun of me just because I'm really good at math.
Anything else you guys want to share that you really enjoyed from the day, or any messages that you really learned? Anything else you want to share with the board?
Well, we met a lot of new people, or like got to know a lot more of other people because they put us in groups. And
Kids from other classes and such?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, not really. The classes like the other homeroom.
The other homeless.
And
Good. Wesley?
And then we also got to know our 8th grade leader as well, because they were like running the groups. Like they told us a little bit about them, and we told everybody a little bit about us. So I feel like that creates a strong relationship, and kindness equals a strong relationship.
Very well said. All right, 8th graders, if you guys want to share first off why you wanted to sign up to become a group leader.
I mean, personally, I wanted to sign up because I thought it was a great opportunity to learn how to lead a small group of people, and I feel like that's a valuable skill that everyone can carry into whatever they do next in their life.
Yeah, I decided that I wanted to do it after I heard someone else in my grade was going to do it, and I decided, wow, that's like a really cool opportunity. I want to do that. So I did it. I made sure my grades were all in check. Overall, it was a really good experience. I felt that it helped me grow as a person, like understanding 5th graders, because when we were in 5th grade, we didn't do this. So just being able to have the opportunity to do it in 8th grade was really fun.
I signed up for it because I thought it would be a unique opportunity to meet some new 5th graders and develop some leadership skills.
I thought it was just a really great opportunity to teach 5th graders new skills and just how to like get that sort of opportunity.
I decided to sign up because I thought it would be a good experience, and like somebody else already said, like we didn't get to do this in our 5th grade year, so we should always try to make it better for generations to come.
And as 8th graders, is this something that you would see yourselves having benefited from when you were younger at TJ, as far as learning some new tools and strategies to improve our school culture and household? Anybody who wants to
Okay.
answer?
Absolutely. I feel like there were things that were taught that I never knew of before, even as an 8th grader. I feel like everyone participating could benefit from this kind of retreat, and especially from Youth Frontiers. It was really great.
Wait, can you repeat the question one more time?
Just any feedback? Yeah. And then we'd love to open up to your questions as well, if anyone has any questions about what the kids learned, what it was like, any other questions you might have. Anything else you guys would like to share?
Okay. I definitely think that if we were in 5th grade and we had this, we would have benefited from it. And like Alex said before, there's a lot of good ways you can benefit from this, as in like meeting friends, getting to understand how to be kind. Yeah.
Kind of like what Natalie said. This retreat was like based off kindness,
Yeah.
but there were so many like additional things added to it. Like you made friends, you met kids in other grades, and it was just like an overall great experience.
Yeah, I don't really think that you can't have like a day dedicated to just having kindness. I think there are other things that like have to go hand in hand with that, and this retreat demonstrated all of them. I think really clearly.
Yeah, and Youth Frontiers made it so fun and exciting for both 8th grade and 5th grade. They started off the day with the 8th graders doing like a happy circle, and we would do fun, like, we started off with a few games. I don't remember what some of them were because it was a while ago, but then when the 5th graders came in the room, we did a tunnel, and we like cheered them on, and Youth Frontiers told us to try and keep the same energy all day. And if they realized that we weren't giving the same energy, they'd make us do, what do we have to do?
It's like peanut butter or
Oh
something.
yeah,
and you
they'd
had to-
say, do you love peanut butter? And then we'd have to run around the room screaming, I love peanut butter, to get other people excited. But yeah, it was so fun. Oh, I want to do it again.
Well, and luckily, they will be able to do this again as 8th graders as incoming freshmen when you'll have the Respect Retreat that's also done by Youth Frontiers. So in the past, we've been fortunate to have that at the high school level, but the either 4th and 5th grade or the 7th and 8th grade counterpart retreats have never been in existence. So thankfully, through your support and through ESSER funds, we were able to do that this year, but would really like to see this become a sustainable thing. We actually just had our 7th grade Courage Retreat on this past Friday, which went wonderful. The only hiccup we had with our 5th grade retreat was our small gym and the loud acoustics. So thankfully, Rachel and the high school team welcomed us on Friday to do the 7th grade retreat at the high school. And as opposed to having 8th grade leaders, we had high school juniors and seniors facilitate that. So really cool to see that pipeline, broadened so that we can have that earlier impact at the middle school. So it was a great experience. Yeah. Any other questions or anything else you guys can share?
I'd just like to say thank you for coming and sharing your experiences with us. I'm really so impressed by your enthusiasm and really very pointed message with us why it was important, because kindness is important, and the intergenerational connections are far beyond the walls of your school. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you as well, Ms. Johnson. I'm very impressed. All of you are so articulate, and so thank you for your sharing. And as you leaders, 8th grade, move on to high school, I know the high school will welcome you with open arms to continue this. And you young leaders in 5th grade, I hope that you just continue this as you grow through middle school and become mentors to those that come in the position that you were in 5th grade, and you see that benefit. So you'll be great leaders, all of you, as you move on through life, because you're phenomenal. You're phenomenally articulate to your experiences. So thank you for this, and we're very happy that it was such a benefit to everybody. So thank you.
Kristen, can I get a picture of you and your group? Sure, that'd be wonderful.
Maybe it would, if 4 of you can sit at the table and then the rest stand behind.
Okay, I just want to take the first 2 seats and then go for it. Kylie, you want to come on in?
There we go.
And like in the gaps.
Yeah. Perfect.
Peanut butter.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
And you middle schoolers are welcome to leave if you would like to. So I want to also remind people that on the public board docs, there are links to a 5-minute retreat, which was really interesting to watch, as well as a link to the Youth Frontiers Kindness Retreat for anybody outside or inside here that would like more information as far as what occurred on that day and what Youth Frontiers was all about. So feel free to access that on our board docs. Next, I'd like to open it up to any other public comments or for this evening.
Brenda, can I ask a, so I like the way that that's all laid out, the whole thing on public content. The only thing I think it's missing is that people expect, I think, some kind of answers once in a while. And if there could be a bullet to let people know that we don't comment on that because possibly those things are not on the agenda. And I think a lot of people come with the idea that we're going to comment or have a discussion with them. And I think that would be important to add on there.
Okay, I think we can probably add a bullet point of that there'll be no interaction or comment from the board members with any comments or questions that somebody might have. So I think that'd be a good addition. So we can update the board docs to include something like that. Next up, high school report.
All right, so Student Council has a very busy week this week. To start off, tomorrow we will be passing out puppy chow, flowers, cards, and then little Valentine giraffes for people who purchased them last week. It's also our court warming week, so that means we have dress-up days throughout the week and a pep assembly recognizing our winter sports on Friday, and then on Saturday we will have turnabout, and that's about it for February. It's just kind of like Valentine's-y, but it's not a Valentine's dance, just because we're not able to decorate the gym this year due to other activities going on at the school.
Thank you, and enjoy the dance this weekend. Superintendent's report.
All right, thank you. This month's superintendent report will revolve around our new middle school principal. As you may recall, Principal Sukawati is retiring at the end of this school year, so it presented us an opportunity to search for a new school principal. Since this principal position is for the 23-24 school year, Director Nettersheim was our project manager because she will be the interim superintendent for next year and beyond. So what that means is she was responsible for the posting, setting up the screening process, the interview process, and ultimately had the hiring authority on this position. So Director Nettersheim will share the new middle school principal update.
Thank you. So as you know, we followed the same process that we actually utilized to hire the Port Washington High School principal, so last year. So this process does involve, it's an intense process. It involves 3 different rounds of interviewing. The first round is more of a round robin where we bring the 3 candidates in at one time where they answer the same question. And that is obviously in front of a panel made up of parents, school board members, and then also teachers or staff from the building. The next round is a one-on-one process that also utilizes the same type of interview style, just not all 3 of them in one spot. They actually have their own time, but they do rotate among the groups. So board members, staff, students were involved in that phase as well as parents, and general community members and staff and teachers and administrators. The third round is a smaller group that's obviously made up of, in this round, it was 7 individuals who made the final decision to go with the result of Nicholas DeBaker. He is going to be, obviously he was chosen for the position. A little bit about Mr. DeBaker, comes with an outstanding resume. We are very fortunate, and I'm very excited to have him obviously start with us in the next school year. Just a little bit about him. He is an advocate and just a leader, obviously in his professional development and as a principal and as his administrative duties precede him in the Kohler Public School District. He was the middle and high school principal there. He currently is the executive director of leadership development for the Racine Unified School District. So he comes with a lengthy resume. He does have his master's degrees in educational administration. So that also is going to be a plus as he is obviously navigating the principal role at the middle school. He does have experience surrounding, obviously, as many of us do who are in education, the COVID planning and implementation of the so-called plans going forward in that. And he is obviously a leader in both teaching virtually and in person. He was a social studies teacher to start his career. So with that, I do welcome, and it is going to be on the agenda later, I think in the next 3 sections, for the board to take a vote on hiring Mr. DeBaker. Any questions?
That concludes our superintendent update.
Thank you. We look forward to meeting him and welcoming him. Next up, consent agenda. So links are provided on the board docs, and I will ask for any motion for approval of consent agenda.
Sarah, do you have your microphone on?
I will make a motion to approve consent agenda, but I would like to pull schedule of bills 1.2 from consent agenda and approve the rest.
I'll second.
Motion by Sarah and second by Danielle.
Danielle, can you second that if you'll be abstaining?
Yeah. Right.
Right, because we're approving everything but,
Everything but
yes,
that.
we
Yep.
have
But
1.2.
you're abstaining from 1.2 as well, correct?
And that's what her motion was.
I pulled 1.2.
Yeah,
Correct.
yep.
Great, thank you. All right, so that would be a roll call. Then I'm going to start with Melissa,
Aye.
Doug,
Aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
Brian Stevens,
Aye.
Brenda,
Aye.
Yvonne,
Aye.
Brian McCutcheon,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
and Danielle.
Aye.
Thank you.
And then I will need a motion for approval for schedule of bills 1.2.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Yvonne and second by Brian McCutcheon.
For roll call, I'm going to start with Yvonne
Aye.
and Brian McCutcheon,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Danielle,
Abstain.
Melissa,
Aye.
Doug,
Aye.
Sarah,
Abstain.
Brian Stevens,
Aye.
and Brenda.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see, okay, now we're on unfinished business, report on executive committee meeting. I'll move that to Brian Stevens. Did I miss something?
New business.
Oh, okay, jumped right over new business. I thought that was quick. We have an exciting thing in new business. The international trip request, and we have Jeannie Kaza coming to present a trip to Panama.
Speaker's already on. Perfect. Hello, everyone. I'm Jeannie Kaza. I'm a Spanish teacher here at the high school. I've been here for 7 years, and this is my 29th year teaching, but I'm way younger than that. I wanted to bring this to the board. In the past, we have brought trip requests to the board, especially for international travel, and we have not done a spring break type travel since I have been here for the last 7 years, and I wanted to propose a trip for next year, going to Panama to do a 7-day homestay, language study. Well, they will be, and a little bit of service. There's a service component also built into the trip. I personally ran my own program in Panama for 10 years when I was at university school, and so I'm very familiar with Panama, and really wanted to bring some service to the high school. In addition to running Spanish Club, I also advise the Global Scholars Program, and part of Global Scholars is asking students to give back to their community, do some community service in a way that it affects a population other than their own. So some sort of a international feel. And this would be one of the ways that I would like to have students get out of their comfort zone, go to Panama, stay with families, do a little bit of language, and then also do some community service while we're there. So I don't know if this little trip brochure actually got printed for you, but if you're willing to pass one along, you can sort of take a look at what is it? Okay, good deal. So one of the other things that I would like to ask the board to consider is that because this next year, 2024, is one of those years, I think every 7 years, our spring break falls on Holy Week. And next year would be a year that it does fall on Holy Week. And in Panama, and as well as a lot of Latin America, they're very religious. Holy Thursday and Good Friday, along with the Saturday before Easter and Easter, are just, everything's shut down. It is church and that's it. So I would like to ask the board for permission to leave early on the trip so that we can actually celebrate or be with the families and do the things before they really kind of fall into their traditions for Easter. So that is one of the requests.
Would that affect the beginning of it, like leaving early, or?
Would be leaving, I would like to leave the week.
Leaving later.
Leave a little early.
Early.
So like the Wednesday, the 20th. On the first page at the very bottom of the trip request form, it says down there, it says we would leave Wednesday, March 20th, and be in Panama for 8 days, coming back on Holy Thursday so that that's not a conflict.
When it says what is included in the price, and it says the homestay accommodations, 2 to 3 per, does that mean there'll be 2 to 3 students per home?
Yes.
So some of our kids will be together in each home?
Yes.
That is vetted? Okay.
Not my ideal. Like, I don't love that idea, but I do like the idea that if they can go to, like, language classes in the morning and do some language, go out into the community, use that a little bit, and then take that back to their homestays. I like that better. But the kids like that a lot better. They're a lot more comfortable. So.
When you speak about the volunteer work, it says volunteering at local schools. Do you have a more descriptive version of that?
I do not currently, but I do know Interact, the company that we go with is out of Green Bay. It's Armando and Peggy Martinez. We're Spanish teachers in the Green Bay area, and they have their own sort of network of former teachers and other people that they know that are the host families, and then the community work is associated with those people in their community. So I don't have currently, just starting to talk to them. I wanted board approval first before we go on.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you speak about, learning about Native culture. Are there any field trip type things outside of this that you had planned to take the students on?
It's in here. We will visit an Embera village. Embera is one of the native tribes that lives right by Panama City. I think it's an hour, not even an hour bus ride, maybe 45-minute bus ride to get to, I'm not sure which river. We get to a river where there are some men from the village that pick us up in boats. They're long wooden carved out boats with big motors on it. We go upstream with them to their village, about an hour's boat ride upstream, and we get to their village where they greet us with a traditional dance and music. They tell us about their way of living, and it's a very traditional way of living. The medicine man, I know when I was there, I haven't been there since 2010 now, but the medicine man takes us into the jungle, and he shows us all of his medicinal plants. He allows the kids to try things like the, it's not the anesthetic, it's the numbing agent. So we can chew on this leaf and your tongue starts to get numb. I know I slipped and fell when I had my daughter however many years ago, and she had just broken her leg. I fell right onto her leg, and the medicine man went in the village and he got all these herbs and made this concoction, and darn if he didn't cure. It was great. It was amazing. So we will do that as well. So that's definitely part of just understanding that a lot of cultures in Latin America have different native populations, just like we have many different native populations. So.
I have one more question, if that's okay. So I know in some of these cultures, like in Panama, a lot of their day is centered around food. Will the students be cooking with their host families, or is that something that you would do something separate?
Yes, in fact, that is in here somewhere. We do a little cooking and a salsa lesson as well. So they're doing a little culture, a little there's literally a little bit of everything for everyone. In addition, I also have the students bring something for their host families, and I often suggest things like brownies or pancakes or something that they can do to make with their host families. At university school, I know the kids were big into science, and they brought ice and salt and cream, and they like threw this bag of ice and stuff back and forth and made ice cream that way. It was wonderful. So they do we will try to incorporate things like that to incorporate the kids into their host families.
Have you surveyed the kids to see about interest?
Mm-hmm. They're very interested. That's the reason. Yeah, that's the reason we're doing it, because they were the ones that said we really want to do something that has a little bit more service to it. We don't just want to tour and travel.
Oh, I don't know if there's a motion for this. Is there a motion? Okay. So I will make a motion, ask for a motion for.
I'll motion to approve the high school Spanish student trip to Panama in March of 2024 as presented.
I second.
Motion by Yvonne and second by Melissa. And can this be does it have to be a roll call?
This should be a roll
Okay.
call, yes. I'm going to start with Brian Stevens.
Aye.
And Brenda.
Aye.
Yvonne.
Aye.
Brian McCutcheon.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Danielle.
Aye.
Melissa.
Aye.
Doug.
Aye.
And Sarah.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sounds exciting. Okay, next up, update on the Board of Canvassers for the school board. I think, let's see, I think, Heidi, will you update?
I can give that, or either myself or Yvonne, either way.
Sue, oh, thank you. I forgot to turn the mic on. Brooke Eulig, Sue Penkwitz, and myself. The primary election canvassing is Tuesday, February 28th at 9 a.m. at the district office. Backup canvasser is Julie Dornberg. And then the spring election canvassing is Tuesday, April 11th at 9 o'clock at the district office.
think that's it. Thank you. Employment of a new middle school principal. This is the contract approval, and which is connected to our board docs. I'm not sure if Mel or anybody wants to speak of it, or if anybody else has any questions regarding it. Information is included in here. If there's any
I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has on the contract.
Yep.
It's a standard contract language that all administrators are provided.
Where does the salary fall in the averages throughout the surrounding districts?
It's actually right on. Yep.
Any questions?
Realizing that his contract actually starts July 1, will he be in the district at all through summer for planning and meeting?
Yes, sorry, I didn't know if there was a second question, it sounded like there was, but no, we've talked and he's excited. We're gonna try to schedule 5 days, just like we did with the previous directors and principals that have been hired. He's excited to start learning, the ways and our, what he calls SIPs, we call skips. So the skip work, the continuous improvement, we are gonna try to bring him in on ad council and then a little bit to tour the building and get to know the staff as well.
I'll make a motion to approve the new middle school principal position for Nick DeBaker.
I'll second.
Motion by Sarah, second by Yvonne. We'll roll call.
I'm going to start with Doug.
Yes.
Sarah?
Aye.
Brian Stevens?
Aye.
Brenda?
Aye.
Yvonne?
Aye.
Brian McCutcheon?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Danielle?
Aye.
And Melissa?
Aye.
Thank you.
I just wanted to speak to the process. I was able to serve on the first round, and I'm really pleased with our new process and how well it works. And there was, Danielle and I both served on the first round. There was some staff from the middle school, quite a few parents, and it's just a really great process, and it's amazing how that line gets drawn with the rubrics. And so you're really using look-fors and the rubrics, and you're coming up with these numbers. And both with the high school principal and the middle school principal, it really works well. And I think you were, Yvonne, you were on the second round?
Yep, and I was able to sit in with the students, and I really think that that is, again, a neat process, and to see all of them interact with the kids, because the kids are interested as well in who is leading their building. It's a great process. Thank you.
And I would like to agree with that too. I was on the final panel, and great process, and it made it very easy to get to know each of the candidates and make a good decision. So.
And I just want to reiterate, there are no directors or and in that first round. So it is just the two board members, it was the staff and the parents. So everyone that 12, 13, we started with something like that. We put forward 7, if I remember right. So it really is a process that comes from those stakeholders. And you guys don't come until the third round, right? Yeah. So that's quite a departure from what we've done in the past, and it's really nice to see.
Now, also just comment, because I didn't do this the first time around. Same thing with the high school principal. We sent out a survey to staff throughout the district, asking them, obviously, for the characteristics and things that they would want to see out of the next principal. And we had over 250 responses on that. So those questions and look-fors that made up all of the process, the first and second specifically, those questions were drawn directly from those responses from all the staff, the collaborativeness of that. So it was that's a high count for responses from staff. So it was nice to see that.
Thank you for the process and the contributions from everybody that was involved. And we look forward to meeting Mr. DeBaker. Next up, I think we did that already. Yep. Just update on the mid-year academic data for grades K through 8, and we'll hand this over to Tammy Thompson, CAP.
Brian, are we good on? Oh, okay. All right, so I'm here to share with you our mid-year data review. It only includes our iReady data. That is the diagnostic tool that we use. We give it in the fall, in winter, and then we'll do it again in the spring. It's a little bit different than Forward or AP or ACT, which are a one, and Access really falls into that category as well. And then it's also different than the benchmark assessments that are given at the school level. This is the diagnostic tool and gives us an opportunity to see how our kids are growing from fall to winter. So just to kind of reground us, we have been having a really strong focus this year. One of our 3 priority areas is on Tier 1 instruction. And so this is a direct measure, we hope, of how well our students are responding to high-quality Tier 1 instruction. And this is the ideal of what we would want it to look like. In a perfect world, Tier 1 instruction is when 80 to 85% of our students are responding to that universal core instruction. Roughly 15 to 20% of students might need some sort of targeted support for some students. And then 1 to 5% is where we're aiming for in terms of the students that would need something that was more individualized or intense. So when we look at our reading growth from the beginning of the year, on the left side is where we were in the fall, and then on the right side is where we are in the winter. You will see that in each of the categories, we would hope that the red section would start to shrink, the yellow would shrink, and then the green would grow. And so that is what we are seeing within reading instruction right now across each of the tiers from fall to winter. Looking a little bit more closely at the 6 different subcategories that we are assessing, you can see here also that when you look at the top to the bottom, the green sections are growing and the yellow and red are shrinking. And then we can look a little bit more granular. This is where we're looking very specifically at the number of students. The green, just the solid green are the students who are on grade level. The hash mark with the green are the students that are mid toward that or already at. The green is like they're on track to end of grade level. The yellow represents students who are 1 grade level below, and then the red represents 2 or 3 grade levels below. And here, when we're looking at this, again, as I've said, the green is growing, which is good. What we look at in the yellow, though, when we put numbers to how many students there are definitely less in winter that are in the yellow and the red, but still a significant amount that we want to continue focusing on our Tier 1 instruction so that we get those students closer to that green, or at least shrinking those red and the yellow even more, and then intensifying our supports for the students who are particularly in that red area. This shows us our growth as a district. The good news here is that we definitely want to see our students in the high performance, high growth. The thing that is a little bit misleading here is this represents the median score, which means that it's not representative of all students. And so that's where the red and the yellow students come to be really important. We want all students to be in the high performance, high growth. But I can say in previous districts, I've never been somewhere where all of our students are in the high performance, high growth. So I think that is a celebration as a district. However, it doesn't eliminate the fact that we really need to be looking closely at the students who are in that yellow and red.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What do those 9 different dots represent? Is it grades?
Question, yes. They do represent the grades, and I'll speak a little bit at the end where we're seeing some opportunities that speak specifically to where those dots fall. Great question. When we shift to math, same thing is happening here where the green section is getting larger. We're actually seeing a more significant growth within Tier 1 in math. And as was the case with reading, the red and the yellow are shrinking, and so our triangle is looking a little bit more like we would want it to look, with obviously still room to grow. And then when we break out by the subcategories, you'll see here again that the green areas are growing and the yellow and red are shrinking from fall to winter. And then when we go even more granular to look at the number of students, again, we have less students who are, this one I think looks more significant in terms of the yellow section really shrinking and that green growing. But again, when you look at the number of students that we have that we still want to make sure that we're on track to those end of grade level benchmarks, we still have work to do between now and the end of the year. And likewise, in math, we are in the high performance, high growth area. Again, those 9 dots represent kindergarten through 8th grade. We have 1 dot that's a little bit closer to the high performance, low growth. But again, a celebration that we're all in that quadrant of high performance, high growth. So in terms of where there are areas of opportunity, there is going to continue to be an emphasis on how important Tier 1 instruction is. We just met with our partners from iReady today who reemphasized for us that we typically see more growth in the first half of the year than we do in the second half of the year. So we want to make sure that we continue to have that emphasis on Tier 1 universal instruction for all students, but most specifically that we can continue to see the red and the yellow students grow closer to those end of grade level benchmarks. We will continue to use our learning walks to monitor Tier 1 instruction and identify where there might be opportunities for support or opportunities for professional development or PLC work, specifically around the students that are in that yellow and red area, that we're continuing to grow them. What we did notice is that in the area of math, our 1st graders and 7th graders had more significant growth than other grade levels. And so a question that we have, and we just learned this today when we looked at the data, what are they doing differently that we might be able to apply to other grade levels or learn more about? Within 3rd grade, in both reading and math, we discovered that at that grade level, within iReady, the personalized instruction piece, it's called My Path, which the program just pushes kids into lessons, or it can be teacher assigned, which assures that it's more grade level appropriate. And in 3rd grade, the majority of their personalized instruction is teacher assigned, and there is a greater correlation between the teacher assigned and positive impact on growth. And so 3rd grade is another area that we want to take a look at to find out how they're making those decisions, if they're using the prerequisite reports that iReady provides to make those decisions, because it does have a positive impact on growth. And then what we did notice within 4th to 8th grade reading, a question we had is why we aren't seeing the same amount of growth as other grade levels, particularly for students who are already at grade level. And so those are the areas of opportunity that we just began to discover today that we want to learn more about. And then certainly coming up in March and April, our elementary schools will be here to provide a more specific update on their goals. And then in April, TJ and the high school will provide an update similar to what they did at the mid-year. And we have asked the schools to be a little bit more specific in terms of having teacher voice as part of that, to describe what they are doing and the adjustments that they're making related to their Plan, Do, Study Act, which we introduced at the BLT mid-year retreat and how they're seeing that being implemented and impacting instruction related to their SCIP goals. So what questions can I answer for you? Mel and Brian, you both were on that call today. Is there anything that you wanted to add? Oh. Hold on.
Thanks. It's nice to see that growth. And so out of curiosity, I know that we're in sort of that, educators are sort of learning some new skills, learners are going to be needing to learn some new skills, and it's nice to see sort of like that big jump. So just in historic, information or anything like that, is there sort of a plateau and then a growth again and a growth? So what's kind of anticipated, maybe like time frame for us to be hitting that 5%, 15%, and 80% sort of thing? I know we want to do it immediately, but we also know that sometimes with anything, like you said, we see a big growth and it might sort of plateau, which there's nothing wrong with that, but sort of what is that anticipated time frame?
I think one of the areas of opportunity that we're going to have that, because of when there have been some shifts within the standards, most specifically within ELA, English Language Arts, and math, that what we're hearing from our teachers is that they have not had enough time to really lean into where those shifts in the standards have been. And so when we talk about Tier 1 instruction, and we've had a big emphasis on it being grade level appropriate for all students, we need to unpack that a little bit more to make sure that all students are getting daily access to grade level instruction so that we can continue to build their knowledge so that they're better able to meet those grade level standards. And so having some conversations around what it means to provide supports for students and not like overly supporting or what we say overly scaffolding, but really giving kids an opportunity to lean into productive struggle and work through some of that are going to be opportunities that we'll be continuing to work on along with our learning walks. Our principals have been really discovering a lot, and our BLT members, quite honestly, some really important trends that are helping us better understand what is happening on the instructional side. We're often looking at the output data, the data that I just showed you today, but not always looking at what's happening before that. And so how can we support our teachers in making sure that they have the supports, the resources that they need to ensure that that high quality teaching and learning is happening every day for every student? So with that, I would hope, if I had a crystal ball, that's a tough one.
And I know that there's not, I know that that we set very, very strong goals for ourselves, and we're going to, keep going for those goals and things like that. But I just want to make sure that, if we plateau, there's nothing wrong with that we're working in the background, and that looking at this, to me, it seems like we've made some really great progress right now. And so if I take this and I extrapolate it at the end of the year, we'll be like there. But if we're not, these are the things behind the scenes that we're working on as well, like you said, instructional support, adaptations for student learning that they're going to have to kind of learn, learners are going to have to adapt to instructional sort of changes and stuff like that. So
and
we're on a positive path, I'm thinking.
And Mel's going to speak a little bit. Where my mind is going is the thought that we're putting into our strategic plan and how we're beginning to identify not just the attributes that we want to see as a Port Washington-Saukville School District graduate, but then what are those action steps that we need to align to make sure, at least within the area of curriculum and instruction, that we're putting those action steps in place to get us closer to that triangle that represents what we would hope to see within all of our content areas.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I've got a question about if you're looking online at different districts and the scoring for math and reading, it looks like we're making great progress. How do these results tie into the scoring that you would find out on Google
We actually took a look today at some national norms, and we haven't been able to unpack all of that, but that's kind of where I mentioned some of the things that we're seeing within first grade and seventh grade, where we were well above the national norm. We saw some interesting trends within third grade, but then within fourth through eighth grade is where we weren't, I wouldn't say we were pretty well at the national norms. But again, those are a median score and not necessarily representative of all of our students. And so that's why we want to continue like putting names and faces to the data in terms of understanding what supports that we have in place for all students to make that progress. But comparatively to national norms, we looked fairly solid. But I don't think that tells the whole picture about all of our students, and so we want to make sure that we don't celebrate that too much without losing sight of when we say all students, that we're really adhering to doing everything that we can to provide that growth for all students. And that one thing I will add to it that iReady does do that's different than some of the other diagnostic tools is that it's criterion referenced. So that means that the goals that are set for kids, they have a typical growth goal and then they have a stretch growth goal. And that goal is set on grade level, end of grade level benchmarks and not necessarily norm referenced where it's a larger body of students. It's looking at how those students are making growth toward the end of grade level benchmarks. And so that helps us to better try to pinpoint where the needed areas of support might be. Anything more?
Anything else? Well, thank you for that update. Exciting news. Next up, overview of the district vision and strategic planning.
And that turns it over to me. I'm just going to
Yep, turns it on to you.
actually select all. Okay. And actually, I did print out, I know the one who pushed for board docs, and now I printed a paper, but because this slide is constantly evolving and changing, I wanted to give you the latest and greatest. It is small, but if you wanted a reference point, because the one in the packet and online is outdated even as of last week. So I did want to make sure that you had the latest and greatest. So they're all individualized, packaged nicely, and then Heidi will make sure that we get the newest and the latest and greatest updated on the board docs as well. So obviously, we came to executive committee back in January to just get an understanding and a broad scope of obviously the next steps in our strategic planning initiative and what that looks like. We are here obviously in February with an update to that. It looks very similar, but we do have a couple of updates. So I wanted to share those with the entire board and then just ground the entire board in what this process is going to look like over the next year or two. So with that, this is a timeline that I think by this point we're probably familiar with. However, it has been updated. So we have just a little quick overview of where we've been. Our survey and fishbone exercises, if you recall, we did that over 21-22 school year. As we dove into spring 2022, we had celebrations and growth areas identified. We did that exercise even with the board. And then we created the teaching and learning subcommittee and the operations committee. Yeah, please. Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. We identified the work, and we began obviously identifying what a portrait of a graduate looks like, and that is really to try to set a vision as to what we want to see when anybody leaves our district, college and career ready. So over into the winter, we are drafting and creating that portrait of a graduate. I do have an update of that tonight. It's still in draft form because we have not gone to the staff with that yet, but it looks a little bit different than what the first time the executive committee saw it. We have refinement of the vision and the portrait of a graduate with the teachers and community. It is important, as I expressed to the executive committee, that we do go and gather feedback from all the staff on this. We want to make sure the experts in this area have say on what the portrait of a graduate looks like and what they believe obviously our students as they leave our district should be well equipped with as they part ways in either our college or career bound. We then finalize the portrait of a graduate in the spring. So obviously, as we're heading into the 2023 spring season and hopefully warmer weather ahead, we want to finalize that portrait and then work that into the strategic planning action plans. What is going to drive the action plan going forward is not only the data that we collect for that input and that output data, but also to make sure that we are drafting and making everything, obviously, whole picture, the portrait of a graduate. So there may be areas within that portrait of a graduate that we focus on first, that we believe we have leverage points on, that say, yeah, this is going to have a really large impact on our district and our students moving forward. And that's something that we'll narrow in on as we have that community information sessions over the summer 2023 this year. And then year one, start of next school year, we are going to start to implement the action plans within the strategic plan to ultimately achieve the greatest, most amazing graduate that has ever been produced in the nation. So that's our goal. Evaluate, you got that. Evaluate and refine action plan with community and stakeholders. So this is an ongoing document. We're going to continue to review this. We will come back to the board and the community with what action steps have we taken, what have we refined, what have we completed, and then update it with ongoing action plans. And this is a similar process to what we are doing at each of our buildings as well, as you are familiar with, the SCIP plan, our Plan, Do, Study, Act models. So we continue to narrow in on goals that we have all the way from the buildings and within each team potentially as well, or even a teacher specific, and then obviously grow that district-wide. So this just goes into further detail just in the next couple months. So this has not changed too much. I did add dates in here. So February 15th, we are looking, so that's this Wednesday. We're going to be taking this to the Ad Council to finalize what we call the final draft of the PWSSD Portrait of a Graduate. And then we have staff engagement. We are going to be doing some exercises February 25th at PD to gather staff feedback on specifically this portrait of a graduate, and then communicate also the strategic plan in general and the next steps. And then in March, we will be conducting community engagement sessions, and the themes will be surrounding that portrait, which are what wonderings do the attendees have, what resonates with them, what do they still have questions about, what are they not understanding, so that way we have, again, those leverage points as to where we should maybe focus in on first within that portrait. So here is the, so I shared this lovely document with the executive committee. So this was the first draft of the amazing individuals that made up the teaching and learning committee. And they really did actually have quite a vision, and I love it. So this was really, I'll try to shrink it down a little bit. So we'll take that, I don't know how to take the comments off, but ultimately you could see the helm. Thank you for that. And ultimately, the words are the descriptions of the portrait of a Port Washington High School graduate, and then our belief statements, which got a little lengthy, so we were able to narrow that down to the, what I call the 90% draft. And this is now just, and you'll see the word draft on there. This is just a very high-level Trivial Pursuit helm now, and that is with those words defined even further, kind of all-encompassing, trying to gather the information and refine it down as the committee has brought it forward to the district. And now this has been refined once already by the Ad Council. It will come back and not look like a Trivial Pursuit wheel, I'm sure, and as Mr. Watkins likes to say, and then our belief statements will be narrowed down as well, obviously to that Tier 1 summary statement. So this is all in all, our strategic planning, what we're trying to get to, and we will have action steps to accompany that. I'm going to pause right there. Is there any questions as far as the process goes up to that point? Okay. So then, looking into June and August, we're going to obviously prioritize and do a SWOT analysis into the areas of curriculum, instructional assessment, and really focus in on those words that you saw on the helm, and ultimately draft up those strategic plans and those action plans that will make up based on the data, again, that input data, the skip work that we're doing at the buildings, and our skip work that we're doing as a district to really hone in on the skill set that we need to focus on. It might be, an ELA review. It may be that we need to redefine our skips. It may be more of a PDSA model. It also may incorporate the operations committee as we are, say, growing in specific areas of our district, and we need to make sure we capture that. So we want to take an all-encompassing look at the entire plan and make sure that we plan for the future. So as I mentioned, summer, fall, and winter, we are going to be building those action steps. I did want to show just an updated, so this is not, the words in here don't mean very much at this point. It's really to give you an understanding and show you, and you'll have this in the packet as well. This is just the format so that you get an idea of what we're looking at. So we have our mission, we have our core values, which is at the top, portrait of a pirate or graduate. At first we were running with the portrait of a pirate. So we want PWSSD graduate. That is where these action steps, it all kind of goes up to that portrait. So we have those action steps which encompass 4 different areas of focus. And right now we are leaning towards the more that those, if you recall, the survey back in 21-22 outlined and called these 4 specific areas out as areas that either A, needed attention, or B, we were doing so well that they actually thought that we should continue to keep growing in them. So they're the 4 highest commented on areas of focus on the survey work. So that's pursuing engagement through communication with each stakeholder. So really that communication, whether it's website, whether it's just communication with our own staff from the district office, or an RFP for a communication marketing plan. We know we need that, and we need to do something about that going forward. So creating a foundation of knowledge and growth mindset through personnel relations. We have growth here. We need to make sure that we're doing right by staff, and that includes obviously, and I just threw in some examples. So we've updated the employee handbook. We've created an HR subcommittee. We're starting to go through policies and procedures to make sure they align with what we need. There may be an opportunity for more of a academy type where we obviously continue to provide our staff professional development and growth. So that may be in our educator effectiveness, getting grounded in that, and standardization in that. And then obviously the salary and employee audit for administrative assistants, custodial pay scales. We know that's up and coming. We know that the HR subcommittee is going to be working on that next. So again, putting that in writing, putting action steps to it, because we know that obviously retention and being able to recruit is critical to our student success as we navigate filling those positions moving forward. Budget always plays a role. So we do have to have some action steps when it comes to budget. We did have the budget presentation, and we've changed over from Alio to Skyward. We're still in the process of doing that. So those are just some real life examples that would have action steps, again, in the strategic plan, and then would be outlined further by having specific duties under each of those action steps that we would have dates to, people in charge of that area of focus, the owner of that, and then in narrowing it down as to what makes it complete, whether that's a measurable aspect or not, but ultimately what do we consider complete and what do we as a group with each of these action plans consider that incomplete. And then we would update the board and the community as we move along. Last but not least, ongoing practice and planning and mindset with GLEAM concepts to improve teacher instructional actions and student experiences. This is truly focused around the instructional and social emotional support of our students. So what do we need to work on first? How do we get the grade level content in our teachers' hands so they can do what they do best? Creating relationships with our students. We have an outstanding team already that's doing that. Now we owe it to them to give them what they need to make sure that they're the most successful they can be. Continuing that process, we've got special education processes. Again, these are just fillers. These are not the actual action plans. It's just to give you an example of the format that we will be utilizing moving forward so that everybody understands what area we're on and what the area of focuses are under each of these. We will involve the community in each of these action plans as far as communicating that, and then also staff. That's going to be a critical component. I did give an example in the packet and here. If you click this is just a very high level. This is nothing, as I told the executive committee, this is actually not real at all. This is made up. But this is what, when you click each of those action steps, you would find that it actually gives you what we're doing the action, the start and the due date, responsible parties or party, and then what are the action plan details, and then at the end here it would say how do we know we were successful at that, and then we would have again check or not checked. So that is just the overview of that process, and then from there, any questions?
So, Mel, in February, later on this month, the staff engagement on a PD day. So what is that going to look like? Are you guys going to be sitting in small groups? Or is it a survey? How are you guys doing this?
Yeah, we're still gathering the details around that. We actually just talked about that this morning a little bit. We're not looking to take more than 2 hours, and that would go over district office structure, strategic planning, and incorporate this activity. So that way the buildings have the PD they need for the rest of the day to deliver. We are looking to engage the principals as well in this work so that they can facilitate it. It may be a matter of, so we, again, reduce the amount of time we're in the buildings and we're not jeopardizing any time they may have already planned in their buildings for PD, that we actually talked a little bit about conducting a virtual call and outlining it and describing it to all the buildings, and then having the principals lead that work and the exercise beyond that so that we can gather the data and then we would collect it from them. Yeah.
Up until now, how has the staff been informed of this whole plan?
Yeah, so we send, so through the district office newsletter, which I'm sure everybody reads, but if they don't, we do have it on the website as well. So I've been trying to put an information slide in that newsletter every month about this and where we're at with the process. We also are trying to incorporate staff as many as we can in those committees. Obviously, we can't force anybody to join them, but I do believe there may be even some here tonight that may be involved in those. So we are trying to gather multiple perspectives. So it's either HR subcommittee, we do have, that's made up of all staff. The operations committee has staff from each building represented on that. And then we also have the teaching and learning, or student engagement, I forget the name.
Teaching, learning, and engagement.
Thank you, it's a long one. Teaching, Learning, and Engagement Committee also has staff on that. So we're trying to incorporate in multiple levels and then bring to Ad Council so that we can really start to navigate this work. I think we needed to ground in that portrait first, and then now we can, okay, we're aligning to this, and now our staff have say on that complete alignment moving forward as of February 25th, and then we'll continue to build those action plans with them on those committees.
And then how has the community involvement been serving on committees?
Serving on the committees?
Mm-hmm. Do we have any?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Operations committee actually is very healthy in the community, whether they're parent or non-parent. We have representation from every building, as I mentioned. And then on your committee, you also have parents and stakeholders.
Yeah, and some that are staff members and parents as well.
Just repeat that, staff members and parents as well. I don't know if they can hear you.
Sorry.
Any further questions? Well, thank you for the update and the continued work on this. It's exciting information as we go forward for our district and our students. So thank you very much. First reading for policy. I'll have to turn it over to Yvonne.
So we've got motion coming out of committee to approve the first reading of the revised board policy 3210. It's with regards to staff ethics and conflicts of interest. And you can see what was taken out and what is in there now. And a lot of these come from suggestions from Wisconsin School Board, right, Heidi?
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of revised board policy 3210, staff ethics and conflicts of interest.
We don't need a second on that?
Voice what?
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Then, okay, I've got to make sure I'm on the right one, sorry. So, alrighty, now it's on, okay. Again, this is motion coming out of committee to approve the first reading of new board policy 4210. Again, staff ethics, conflicts of the interest. And if you click on that, you can see as well, new draft.
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of new board policy 4210, staff ethics / conflicts of interest.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then this is motion coming out of committee to approve the first reading of new board policies 3210.01 and 4210.01, staff gifts and gratuities. And you can click on to take a look at what has been put in and cross-referenced. So we'll need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of new board policies 3210.01 and 4210.01, staff gifts and gratuities.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is coming out of committee to approve the first reading of revised board policies 3430.01 and 4430.01, dealing with family and medical leave under state and federal law. And if I'm remembering correctly, Mel, we do follow the federal law.
Yes, we have state first, and then we do follow the federal, which extends further opportunities for all of our staff.
Thank you. So we'll need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of revised board policies 3430.01 and 4430.01, family and medical leave under state and federal law.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Unfinished business.
Then there's those other three.
Okay.
I didn't know if you're coupling them together, actually.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, we don't need a motion on the others. They're just for reference. There's some guidelines and a form attached.
Oh, okay.
And they're more for reference. The administrative council approves the guidelines. But just so that you could see that the guidelines are being updated and at the same time as the policy. So it's more for a reference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to report on executive committee. Brian Stevens.
All right. On January 23rd, 2023, the executive committee met and we discussed the district strategic plan timeline overview for the next 12 months, which Mel shared with the rest of the group here tonight, including development of the portrait of a PWSSD graduate and the strategic plan direction, timeline, areas of focus, and the draft format of that PWSSD portrait of a graduate. We also established future board agenda topics, including an overview preview of the PWSSD vision and strategic planning process timeline, which we just had, and then in March, a board workshop on the community engagement process. We also discussed or established the following board meeting agenda topics, which were to include a report on the WASB Convention and Delegate Assembly during February during a regular board meeting, and a School Finance 102 board workshop either in March or April. And that was the extent of our discussion that evening. Any questions regarding any of that? All right.
Thank you, Brian. Now report on policy committee.
All right. Oh, sorry.
That's you. Every time.
Meeting on Monday, January 23rd was called to order at 6:46. Members present were Melissa and myself. We continued to review of board policies based on direction from the Wisconsin Association of School Boards Policy Resource Guide. We reviewed recommended revisions to board policy 3210, which we approved tonight, as well as a new board policy 4210. Also reviewed were recommended new board policies that we went through and did earlier this evening here. Lastly, the committee reviewed and recommended revised board policies 3430.01 and 4430.01 family medical leave under state and federal law, along with corresponding revised or replacement administrative guidelines, 3430.01 and 4430.01. Procedures for administering family and medical leave under state and federal law. The committee recommended that all policies reviewed be moved forward for a first reading at the February 13th regular school board meeting, which we did. Any questions? Nope. That's it.
Okay, Daniel.
All right, our Teaching and Learning Committee met on February 6th. We started by having Brian talk to us and present an overview of the Youth Risk Behavior Survey and explained why the district could be utilizing the survey and what the data can be used for. We reviewed and discussed several graphs from DPI that was part of the survey. Committee members then just suggested discussing the survey further at an upcoming board meeting. Brian presented an overview of the school health assessment and performance evaluation, which is the SHAPE system, which the district is using as a tool to help determine needs and priorities around mental health. Brian explained how the summary report will identify what we're doing well and what we need to continue working on regarding mental health. That was it.
Thank you. Now a report on the WASB conference and delegate assembly. And I will turn this over to Yvonne as you are the delegate assembly.
With the assembly delegation that met in January, it took a little bit longer, I guess you could say, to get through all of the resolutions. Please know that we did not get through all of the resolutions as people had left before we were done doing our work. I did fill out a survey that they had asked us to do at the end of the convention, because please know that if you guys are sending me to do our work, I plan on staying and finishing it. So whatever was not discussed and voted on at the January delegation is to be tabled to next school year. So, and whether it is really brought up or not, I don't know, but I thought you guys should know I was a little frustrated with that, because by about 4 o'clock or so, they realized, oh, we better make sure that we have a quorum. We needed 225, and we did not have 225 people there. So that's all that I have to share.
Thank you. Moving on to any district committee reports by any board members. Seeing none, school safety drills in there is reported, and upcoming board dates are also included into our board docs. And seeing that we're at the end of the agenda, I will ask for an adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening.